All right, on today's show, we have a breaking report just coming in from Netflix and KTLA's headquarters. There's an active shooter situation. We'll give you the latest on that. Also, Trump ends the crisis at the border for now, saying he will sign a spending bill, but he also declares a national emergency, starting a legal crisis of its own. Amazon kills its HQ2 plan following backlash from local politicians. Elliot Abrams and his sticky situation with Ilhan Omar. What is Medicare for All? We'll explain it from the legendary Timothy Faust. He gives you the only guide you'll ever need. We'll break that down. And finally, Katie Halper. Great clip to end the week. Katie Halper, great stuff on Laura Ingraham versus Matt Schlapp. Schlapp. Sounds like, oh my god, I don't know what that sounds like. I don't even want to think about what that possibly is. Schlapp. That's a great onomatopoeic poetic word, I guess you could say. All right. Yeah, so as of this point, at this point, there is very little known about the story. But what we know now at the point, it is pretty much what we're seeing is KTLA and Netflix's headquarters in California have been put on lockdown. So what's going on right now is the KTLA is now reporting one person is in police custody. It's unclear if the lockdown is still in effect. Netflix employees are being evacuated from the building. They were evacuated from the building. KTLA managers were telling employees to move to interior spaces and stay away from windows as a precautionary measure. Aerial footage showed Netflix employees being evacuated from the building. KTLA reports that the LAPD was notified of a person with a deadly weapon in the studio lots area, I guess, where there's a lot of studios, websites, stuff like that, just media places, media types in the vicinity. LAPD officer Tony M. said the department received secondhand information about a person who was armed. Employees at Sunset and Bronson Studios, which is located in the intersection of Sunset and Van Ness, were not allowed to leave the area after the reported incident. Employees were not allowed on the studio amid the investigation. All right, so yeah. Police are on the scene. Areas on lockdown. Unclear whether shots have been fired. People are obviously tweeting about it, saying hashtag from one, hashtag boy I miss Canada. Yeah, so again, on the anniversary of the Parkland shooting here, just another reminder of the crazy situation that we are all living in. All right. It's an update on that. We're gonna, if anything comes through as we're doing the show, we will let you know about that. So, all right. Trump pretty much started one crisis today as he tried to end another one. As President Trump declared a national emergency to bypass Congress and build his long-promised border wall along the nation's southwest border, even as he agreed to sign a spending package that does not finance it, the White House said Thursday. So what he's really trying to do here is get best of both worlds. He's trying to appease the rabid dogs of Ann Coulter and Rush Limbaugh on the far right, and he's also trying to stop the shutdown. And those concerns are almost equally pressing to him, so he did both at the same time. He really tried to have his cake and eat it too. And we can really see the Democrats, Nancy Pelosi, in a state coming out today and saying that it's very possible that there will be some sort of a response to this on CNN. She had said this in a press conference. She said there's possibly some legal response that could be coming from this from the Democratic side. And it does set a precedent that, I mean, if you just don't like the way things are going, you can just declare a national emergency. This precedent the president is setting, and she mentioned this, is very dangerous. They had to talk a little spicy, though, in that press conference as well. Some of you like to see there. Very possible. Then again, it's another way of something that the Republicans apparently said that all Obama did was just executive order after executive order after executive order. This is a pretty big executive order, a national emergency here to take money from other sources, disaster relief to Puerto Rico, and it's just in Puerto Rico and California, and it's just absolutely just abhorrent stuff. We just absolutely hate to see it, and it's another reminder of how slimy things are. And it's very possible this could again get stopped up in the courts. Nancy Pelosi coming out and again, as we said, bringing up the possibility of legal challenge, but that is where we're going here with the next step of the border crisis and the continuing odyssey that is trying to fund the border wall, that is finding a lot of lack of success, really, from Donald Trump. So yeah, if he declares a national emergency to access billions of dollars for his wall, Trump could instigate a constitutional clash over who controls the federal purse. Constitution says the legislature, whatever, it testament to presidential authority in a time of divided government. Democrats and some Republicans instantly condemned the news, and some vowing to challenge it through legislation and lawsuits. The emergency declaration, and again, we did talk about this, I think, 2 days ago on the Wake Up. There is a possibility in a legal method that could be used here to challenge this in Congress. So that's interesting. The emergency declaration, combined with 1.375 in funding for the wall in the spending measure, would allow the president to put $8 billion along the borders, according to administration official, more than $5.7 billion he'd been seeking from Congress originally. President Trump will sign the government funding bill, as he stated before, but he will also take other executive action, including a national emergency, to stop the national security and said Sarah Huckabee Sanders. I don't even feel like reading the rest of it. So Trump's announcement kept hours of a last-minute drama as he came under pressure on Thursday morning not to sign the spending legislation from conservative figures like Laura Ingraham, who denounced it on Twitter as a monstrosity and a total scam. So yeah, now Trump's going to get a constitutional crisis. You're still not going to get the wall, or not really, he's going to sue it out of his mind for it, and you're still not going to get the funding for a wall, at least for a very long time, because that's how we know how goddamn slow our Justice Department is, and you got to get a judge order on this. I don't know if there's a possibility of going to the Supreme Court, and then there is, of course, the likelihood that John Roberts, just as he did in that recent abortion case, would side against it. We're thinking several steps ahead here, but this is, at this point, most likely going to be challenged at some place either by Republicans in Congress or Democrats in Congress, Republicans and some Democrats and some Republicans in Congress, or the legal system. And we should see that happen very, very soon. A bulky president considered telling Republican leaders to put aside the measure brokered by both parties and instead pass a short-term bill to keep the government open while allowing him to resume efforts to win the border wall money, according to a Republican briefed on the situation. We're getting to a point where we obviously realize that he is incapable, absolutely incapable of winning this border wall money, because he has not been able to do it for like a month. No one's shifting on this. The battle lines are drawn in this situation. It's not going to work, and such a move here really, again, would have unravel the bipartisan balance favored by Senator Mitch McConnell. He likes it. It's the easier way for him. It puts less pressure on him to cater to that base that he really hates and thinks are disgusting, but on the other hand, really, really wants to cater to them in the same way in order to keep power and keep his seat. So that is a quite delicate situation there that he's dealing with. He wants to keep just out of reach from the braying MAGA hordes who are chasing him with pitchforks and mobs. We want the wall. We want the wall. And then he wants to also continue to say, "Oh, I'm bipartisan. I'm bipartisan." As he likes to talk, he's like has a golf ball in his mouth. Like, "Oh, bipartisan." It's a little. You ever notice he talks like he has a golf ball in his mouth? Yeah. In a telephone conversation on Thursday, Trump asked McConnell whether the spending measure included any hidden provisions or landmines, and Senator reassured him that it did not, according to a person familiar with the call. Ultimately, Trump was persuaded to sign the bipartisan spending measure after all, and at least some close to the president doubted he was ever really wavering and instead was just enjoying the suspense. Yeah, so it's like, am I going to sign it? Am I going to sign it? I don't know. It's ridiculous. Yeah, McConnell did not choose to take the chance, rushing to the floor and interrupting a colleague's speech to announce Trump's decision, in fact, locking it in before he could change his mind. All right, so yeah. So it's like, excuse me, the president needs to speak. The president has spoken. Bum-ba-da. It's like the man in the high tower has spoken here, holding decisions on all of our lives. It's pretty ridiculous. Excuse me. 7 Senate Democrats, including 4 announced or possible presidential candidates, immediately introduced legislation intended to block Trump from diverting money from disaster relief for the wall. Good first step there. Jerry Nadler the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, and some other House Democrats began endorsing a joint resolution to essentially nullify a national emergency declaration. So that could also be coming in the statements, and it's very possible that we could again see some sort of other legal action in the courts about this. So a parade of also liberal advocacy groups sent out the pre-written statements, taking it out. The president is trying to do an end run around Congress. Pelosi told reporters she suggested that President Trump was setting a precedent for future Democratic presidents to act on issues like gun control. Precisely the scenario that scares Republicans. And boy, any Democrat worth his or her salt will do it easily. Climate crisis, national emergency, easy. Gun violence, national emergency. Taxing the rich, national emergency. No, those are probably two of the biggest things. Gun violence, climate change. She mentioned they're absolutely, completely national emergencies here on this 1-year anniversary of Parkland shooting here on Valentine's Day. So Chuck Schumer of New York, the Democratic leader, echoed her criticism and said Congress would defend its prerogatives. The public was more opposed to the emergency declaration than they were to the wall. And they were opposed to the wall, he said in a brief interview. So yeah, that makes sense. Makes sense, and we will really wait to see what the Democrats do and to mount this challenge. About a half dozen Republicans quickly spoke out against the move as well. Senator Susan Collins of Maine said a declaration was of dubious constitutionality. Anything she says does not mean anything to me after what she did on Kavanaugh. I'm personally still way sore over that. So I don't think this is a matter that should be declared a national emergency, Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska said. Rubio called it a bad idea, and Rand Paul of Kentucky said, we have a government that has a constitution, that has a division of power, and a revenue-raising and spending power was given to Congress. And so he talks on that in that kind of manner. But he's right about the situation. He's a constitutionalist, and for once, he decides to actually follow the Constitution. Not when it comes to tax cuts, not when it comes to health care. Oh, no. He is much more in favor of big interest then, but in this particular issue, he actually decided to follow the Constitution. So that's nice. Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina and Senator Shelley Moore Capito of West Virginia, who faces re-election next year, firmly backed Trump, saying, I am supportive of the president. And he feels declaring a national emergency gives him that flexibility and that he wants and needs. So I'm supportive of that in terms of getting the border. Whatever. So Jim Jordan also in support of that, just giving you the playing field here. So a person filming over the discussion said that McConnell said he tried to warn Trump that he has less than 2 weeks to persuade wavering Republicans to support his national emergency effort, or he will face the prospect of a bipartisan rebuke by Congress. So he's going to need to get that passed pretty fast. So the spending legislation that passed Thursday includes 7 of the remaining bills to keep the remainder of the government open through the rest of the fiscal year. At the end of September, House and Senate negotiators unveiled the 1,159-page bill on Wednesday, just before midnight, leaving little time for lawmakers to actually digest its contents. The House and Senate negotiators, that is a big deal. 1,159 pages in just 2 weeks. That's a lot of writing. Damn. So the border security compromise tucked into the bill is perhaps the most stinging legislative defeat of Trump's presidency. It provides $1.375 billion for 55 miles of steel post fencing, essentially the same deal that Trump rejected in December, triggering the shutdown, and far from the $5.7 billion he demanded for more than 200 miles of steel or concrete wall. All right. That's where we leave that story. A lot of reporting there from Peter Baker, Emily Cochran, and Maggie Haberman of the New York Times. So shout out to them. All right. Yeah, we're gonna stay on that.